Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. Welcome to another important episode of Ignition Time. I have important alerts and important updates about the status of the unemployment benefits extension negotiations, and I'm actually going to give you the bottom line right away, and then I'll dig a little bit deeper into the status of the negotiations and tell you how things are actually getting closer. So here's the bottom line. It looks like there's going to be a deal either this week or next week. The probability of a deal is very high. However, even if a deal was to take place next week, and even if a law was to be passed at some point next week, according to Michele Evermore, who's an economist, and this is on Jeff Stein's Twitter feed, who is the Washington Post reporter, according to Michele Evermore, it'll be about 2 weeks from the passage of the new law for most states to adopt and implement the new enhanced unemployment extension benefits. So basically, even if Congress passes a law next week, which is, by the way, which is the best case scenario, the money, and by the way, if the president signs that into law, the money is not going to arrive until August 28th at the earliest. So these are the latest estimates. So again, if a law is passed next week, the enhanced unemployment booster, whatever it ends up being, whether it's 70%, whether it's 100%, whether it's a fixed dollar amount, whether it's a full $600 a week, which by the way is what Nancy Pelosi is pushing for. She called it her red line. That money is not going to arrive before August 28th at the earliest. This is the estimate from Michele Evermore. So everyone out there, all of my subscribers, I have big goals and big aspirations for you. A lot of content on this channel. Be prepared for the withdrawal or the lapse of enhanced unemployment benefits for several weeks. So just be prepared for that. Now, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the status of the negotiations. I actually analyzed an article that just came out in both the Wall Street Journal as well as the Washington Post, and I'll give you the bottom line. But first of all, you probably heard from me and from other sources that the president was considering executive action. He was considering unilateral action to implement payroll tax cuts. Now, there's a lot of doubt as to whether he can even do that. Stephen Moore said that he can do that, and Senator Chuck Grassley, who's a senior senator, said, it takes an act of Congress to do that. And even Larry Kudlow implied that earlier this morning. But the bottom line is, one person in touch with the White House said, this is a leverage play. In other words, it's a negotiation tactic. This is the key thing here to understand, is that President Trump feels from a deal-making perspective that Nancy Pelosi has all the leverage in this situation. I've mentioned this before. In any deal, the individual willing to walk away, the individual who has less to lose, is essentially going to be the person with more deal-making power here, because the longer this lapse continues, the more the GOP, the more the president is going to get blamed just across the board. So in other words, the president and the GOP are highly motivated to come to a conclusion. And by the way, if this continues even longer, then at some point blame is going to fall on the Democrats as well. So this is becoming a situation where the level of urgency is increasing on a day-by-day basis. To be honest, between you and me, I don't even think it should have taken this long, but that's a matter, that's a discussion for another day. So again, Michele Evermore said that it'll be 2 weeks from the passage of the new law for most states to adopt and implement the new unemployment extension benefits. By the way, I'm sorry, it's a little dark here. It's the end of the day here, so I'm in a different part of my estate making this video for you. I was trying to catch the natural light before it gets super dark, so I'm going to try and rush. Now, Stephen Moore has been touting the payroll tax cut, as you know, and just so that we know let's see, we talked about Michele Evermore. I'm going to jump now to the Washington Post article. I will link you to the Washington Post article in the description section below. The article says, White House and Democrats agree to try and reach pandemic relief deal on evictions and unemployment by the end of this week. So I think that's very interesting. So basically, leaders have now said that they want to come to a consensus. President Trump told reporters at the White House today, I may not have to sign an executive order. That's what he was referring to. Progress is being made. Now, this agreement on a timeline, basically they've come to an agreement on a timeline, and senior White House officials said today that they've made very concrete offers to Democrats related to unemployment benefits and eviction moratorium after days of bickering from both sides. So the agreement on a timeline came in a meeting with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, and the White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. And the last two, Mnuchin and Meadows, are the lead negotiators on behalf of the administration. Now, there are some key comments here, not only from the President, but from the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. I've mentioned this earlier. The Republicans started all the way at $200 a week. The Democrats wanted $600 till 2021. The Republicans said, Senator Lindsey Graham said, we'll do 100% wage replacement. And then Nancy Pelosi talked about the automatic stabilizer, where the $600 would essentially taper off as the unemployment in a state fell down. So as you can see, both sides are coming closer. And now both sides have actually agreed to a timeline, which is that they're going to come to a deal by the end of this week. Remember, you heard it here first. There is going to be a deal, and when the deal comes out, I'll probably be the first one to report it to you as well. But I'm here to tell you there is going to be a deal. There is going to be enhanced unemployment benefits above state unemployment benefits. At this point, we don't know what the amount is. We do know there is going to be one, and I can tell you for sure there's going to be a lapse. And based on Michele Evermore, you will see enhanced unemployment benefits above the state unemployment insurance amount at the end of August. So just be prepared for that and just plan accordingly. So basically everybody will meet again on Wednesday, all of these individuals, and 30 million Americans are actually waiting for these individuals to come to a consensus. And Stephen Mnuchin had said earlier, when the Democrats had pushed for $3.4 trillion, he said, we're not doing anywhere close to $3.4 trillion. That's ridiculous. And Chuck Schumer said, we really went down issue by issue, slogging through. They made some concessions, which we appreciated. That's good. We made some concessions which they appreciated. Now that's good. I've mentioned this before. In any negotiation, both sides have to give up a little bit and both sides get a little bit. Any deal that is successful is a deal in which both sides get what they want and both sides enter what I call the zone of compromise. So I think, we've been getting there for a few days now, and I've been reporting it to you as we go along step by step, if you've been following my videos and if you've been following my channel. So he said, we are still far away on a lot of important issues, but we are continuing. So the talks continue, and these guys are just going on with the talks. And by the way, the urgency to come to a solution is really there, because all the senators are actually feeling the pressure, and some GOP senators have actually acknowledged that the sheer inadequacy of returning to their home states without a deal is going to put them in a tough position, because their constituents are going to be extremely angry and upset with them. In fact, Senator John Cornyn, who's a Republican from Texas, said, how do you think it looks for us to go back home when this is unresolved? So obviously he feels the pressure there. He said this is the most important thing we need to be doing. And he said that, Senator Marco Rubio said, real people are sitting back home and wondering why all the kabuki games, his words, kabuki games, why can't we just do it? So basically everyone, wants to get a deal done. That's basically what's going on. I'm actually going to jump over to an important comment from the Senate Majority Leader, Mitch McConnell. He said, now this is important, it is not going to produce a kumbaya moment like we had in March or April where everybody voted aye, but the American people in the end need help. And wherever this thing settles between the President of the United States and his team, who have to sign it into law, and the Democrats, and he talked about them, he said, and the Democrats, not insignificant minority in the Senate and majority in the House. In other words, he recognizes that he's going to need support from the Democrats in the House as well as some of them in the Senate. That's what he said. He said, not insignificant minority in the Senate. And this is the important part. This is the important part. He said, that is something I'm prepared to support even if I have problems with certain parts of it. You see, now that is someone willing to negotiate. So regardless of what we feel about our leaders, regardless of the anger, the frustration, the time it's taken to get here, the wheels are turning, and I know they're turning slowly. I agree they're turning slowly. I've given you this analogy before. The United States of America is not a speedboat that it can just make, sort of big fast changes in direction. It's like a ship. It's a big ship, and then it moves very slowly. It kind of takes a 5 degree, 10 degree change, sort of a change in direction, but then down the road it ends up in a different continent. I predict that once the dust settles on all of this, all the unemployment benefits system across the entire United States of America will be completely modernized, will be completely re-engineered in order to be able to help citizens if and when something like this happens again. And let's hope that nothing like this happens again. Now let's go to an article on the Wall Street Journal website. Again, I'll link you to this also, to this article also below. The article says, White House pandemic talks make progress in bridging gaps. And this is what Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin said. He said, we're going to try and reach an overall agreement, if we get one, by the end of this week, so that the legislation can be passed next week. Again, you heard it here first. the legislation is going to be passed, if not this week, sometime next week, and they all want to come to an agreement. And by the way, I can see that it's getting dark as I'm recording this video. And let's see, Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin said some issues we've been able to agree on, some significant issues are still up. And Mr. Schumer said we're still slogging through step by step. They made some concessions and I covered that. So let's see. White House, see, we've had some other important quotes. Let's see what else is worth reporting here. And let's see, this is, Mr. Schumer also said the gap between our two parties in the negotiations is about priorities and about scale. This pandemic has washed over our country like a great flood, and Republicans are acting like we need to fix a leaky faucet. I mean, these guys are pretty colorful with the language they use, and at the end of the day, they just need to get stuff done because there's 30 million people waiting for them. So I think that essentially was the highlight, the high points, and like I said, President Trump was considering issuing an executive order. He doesn't feel that that's going to be necessary at this point. That's it, everybody, as it gets dark here in one part of my estate. Thank you so much for watching. I'm actually going to go get a glass of wine. I'm going to chill, and I recommend you guys just relax as well. Just do whatever helps you relax, watch some TV, or I don't know, get a drink, a milkshake, ice cream, whatever makes you happy. Let's just sit back and wait for things to happen, because that's just the way our system is. That's just the way our constitution is. And again, even if the law is signed next week, and I believe it will be signed next week. Now, I made this prediction a couple of weeks ago that there would be a government official, maybe the president, maybe someone else, who would essentially make sure that a deal was brokered and would try and take credit for the whole situation. It looks like that's going to happen, but it happened later than it should have. We'll wait and see what happens. I'm going to report stuff to you as it happens, but this is definitely, I agree, taking longer than it should, which is why I want my viewers, my subscribers, to be able to prepare for the next few weeks without enhanced unemployment benefits. Make sure you prepare for that eventuality. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was beneficial. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you want to get breaking news and alerts from me and my team, please get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time, because the name of the channel is Ignition Time. Send that to 70,000. So again, send a text message with the word ignition or simply with the word time to 70,000, 70000, and you'll be added to our list to get breaking news alerts, and you can opt out at any time. Thank you so much. If you learned something new from this video, please click like, please click subscribe so you get instant notifications from me about future updates. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video of Ignition Time. Thanks.